So there are three things in the sermon today that I need us to pay attention to. It's trying to do three things. It's trying to...
Only three.
Only three. In this one spot. And you'll see it. To encourage the hearts of believers, that's the first thing. Paul's trying to encourage the hearts. He's trying to see them knit together in love. What does it mean to be knit together in love? It means, well, I don't know. What do you think? Who's a knitter? I know. You're not a knitter. Knitter.
Crochet.
You crochet.
Yeah. Crocheters.
So as you sit there and crochet and you make that knot, right, the first knot, is it any good without other knots?
Yeah.
No, because it needs other knots, right? Because it's better together. Yeah. So knit together means woven together. And I need to say this a little bit. How many of you have had a friend you've never had to forgive for anything? You've had a friend that never did anything that bothered you. Really? Because humans are kind of that way. We're sort of bothersome. We're irritating once in a while. Most of the friends I have, I've had to figure out how to ask for forgiveness from them and to forgive them over and over without making a big deal out of it. You just have to learn how to forgive, but you become knit together in a way that you forgive each other faster. Right? If you look in our bulletin, it has this little blue circle and it says centering ourselves on a relationship with Christ and stronger in God, right? We're learning about God, we're listening to the Spirit, and we're quicker to return, or in other words, fast to forgive. Fast to forgive and to seek forgiveness. That's what we do. We try to do that. And then the last one he's trying to do is to get us the assurance of understanding. Now that's sort of backwards. Most of the world thinks seeing is believing. But the Bible doesn't say it that way. It says believing is seeing. That you will see it when you believe it. And I think we had a testimony not too long ago where Melanie stood up here and she said after accepting Christ, she sees Christ throughout her whole life. She didn't see that stuff beforehand, but Christ was there the whole time. That believing was seeing, not seeing is believing. I know it's backwards to the world, but the world's actually the backward one. I've seen lots of things I'm not sure I believe. But I know God has got me. And I know that because I've experienced things, and sometimes I don't even believe all the things. Like when they first happened to me, I wasn't even sure they happened. Have you ever had that experience? So we need to talk this through a little bit. The verse has this three things, just the three. Here it is. And I need you to understand that they're different from the world. So encouraging our hearts means not leaning on your own understanding, right? You're not doing that. Backwards from assurance of understanding, you don't lean on your own. Leaning on your own understanding means I'm the one who decides what's right and wrong, which gets us back to a discussion of the garden. I'm going to decide what's right and wrong. I want to be judge. And so the world says we have to lean on our own understanding, but God says, no, lean on mine. And so knit together in love means not in your own strength. You're not alone. But the world sort of says you have to be able to do that in your own strength. And then it says, actually, lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. But that's not what the Bible says. The Bible actually says, encourage the hearts of those around you. You're not in this alone. So these are backwards. Let's read Colossians 2, 1 through 6 for that. And it is on page 1822. Okay, Colossians 2, 1 through 6. I want you to know how much I've agonized for you and for the church of Laodicea and for the many other believers who I've never met personally. Now, Have you ever agonized in prayer over somebody you've never met? How would that happen? What do you think would drive you to start to pray for somebody you don't know very well, even? I tell you this story. Just a week and a half ago, I was over with our bishop, Carolyn Moore, and she said, "Who are you praying for that you'll talk to about Jesus? Who are you praying for that needs Jesus?" And maybe you're so Christianized now that all your friends are Christian. But who are you praying for to talk to about Jesus, to share Jesus, to share the grace and mercy that's been poured out on you to somebody else who might be struggling? And she said, and if you don't have any non-Christians that you interact with, I challenge you to look at your world better. You have grocery store people that you interact with, and gas station attendants, and when you go out to eat, you have people to interact with there. Now, I know that you're not all like me, where if you go to the fair, Karen used to tell me that it was no fun to go to the fair with me, because I wanted to talk to everybody. And that's inappropriate, right? You're in this big crowd, and Dave's trying to visit and meet all the people walking in the crowd all at the same time. And that's not really for everybody. It's been a long time since that. Because I quit going to the fair because it was inappropriate for me to meet everybody, and it was wonky. I used to work in a booth in the fair here and back in the Tri-Cities, and then it gives you a reason to talk to whoever comes by. That's what the problem. That's the situation of a booth. But that's me, right? But as the bishop was saying this, somebody at one of our local grocery stores, her face popped into my head that I needed to be praying for her. I don't know her name yet. I know her face. You agonized in prayer for somebody else. Because Christ puts himself in you, his spirit in you, and gives you a new spirit, but he longs for all the people that he's made to come to know him. Even the ones that don't know him yet. And you might be the person that interacts nearby. So anyway, I want you to do that. I want them, all the people called to Christ in your churches, I want them to be encouraged and knit together with the strong ties of love. I want them to have complete confidence that they understand God's mysterious plan. By the way, that was after knit together in the strong ties of love. How many of you have been Christ's person for more than 30 years? Are you still learning? Are there things that you know now that you were confused about 20 years ago after? Right? So it's possible to come to faith and to be knit together in bonds of love and not understand every single thing.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, and I make a joke of this, and I've made a joke of this over the years, that when I went to seminary, I thought I understood the Trinity really well. And now I've read thousands of pages on the Trinity, and I know I don't understand it. I know way more information than I used to know. But I also know that all the little pictures that I can give you to help you understand it break at some point, because it's mysterious, it's beyond our understanding. God is bigger than us. Okay, here we are. God's mysterious plan, which is Christ himself. In him lay all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Now, you don't have this in your Greek, but how many of you have ever used a thesaurus? I love a thesaurus. Do you know that word? Okay, the word for treasures here is thesaurus. It literally says in the Greek, all the thesaurus of Sophia, all the treasures of wisdom. Now you might go, well, that's a weird thing, but you know that thesaurus is a word that means it comes from tithing, the same term that tithing comes from, where a deposit is made on the future. That tithing isn't you coughing up your hard-earned money. Tithing is you putting your treasures where your spirit is. It's making a deposit on your faith. It's also making sure your money doesn't own you and things like that. But when you tithe to God, sure, your local church helps it, right? Your local church loves that you tithe. Okay, don't get me wrong. But you don't tithe necessarily for that. Bill was telling me a joke, telling the treasurer or our finance committee a joke the other day, and the joke was, we have lots of projects and it's going to cost lots of money. That's the good news is we have all the money we need. The bad news is it's still in your pockets. But when you tithe, when you give out of the love of the Lord, then what you do is you start to make a deposit on what you believe in faith. You put your money where your mouth is. It's sort of like I had a version of the same conversation about 8 times this last week. But one of them was that he called the church and he wanted to know about our mission statement, which is in your bulletin, with a little blue circle that says, centered on our relationship with Christ, that one. And I was telling him about it, and I said, however, you should come be amongst us, because if we don't live it, having it on a piece of paper doesn't mean anything. We try to make a deposit of what we believe and live this way. And so the thesaurus, another word from thesaurus is a treasure chest, right? A treasure chest. How many of you ladies have jewelry boxes? What do you put in your jewelry boxes? Buttons? Jewelry, right? Yes, there's buttons in your jewelry box too. Are they cool buttons? Are they cool buttons? You just said, okay. Because I think there's some really cool buttons in the world. And I have some buttons that match some of the clothes I have, but they're not in a jewelry box. They're scattered about or wherever, or they're sewn on the inside of the shirt, right? That's how they do that on dress shirts. Not this shirt, but like a dress shirt. Yeah. But we make a deposit. Now, how do we make a deposit? And how should we understand this? There's still more here going. I'm telling you this so no one will deceive you with well-crafted arguments. Do you understand that we become Christ's person before we fully understand? And then because we come into his family and we are knit together in love, we become sharpened and better understanding. And because we know it in our knower, where's your knower? It's that spot on top of your head, on top of your shoulders, right? Your knower, your feeler, your knower. But because you know in your heart and your head that Christ has done stuff for you, you are not arguable out of those positions by clever arguments. Because Christ has made a deposit in you. Now, what is the deposit that Christ has made in you?
Love.
Well, love. But before, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And then when he died for us, and we accept that gift of the death, which is the price of the penalty, the judgment, because God is just, the things we've done require judgments against us. They require judgments. When I curse somebody, that behavior requires correction. And Christ died for that. He took the correction for us. That's what the cross does. He took the correction for us. Now, he didn't just take the correction for us from before we knew him. He took all the correction due us even after we knew him, when we still aren't completely correct. He already knew that and already knows you're going to do that and still loves you and knits you together in love so that you can become his person and that you can live into the spot that he's made for you. Because he made the spot for you. Now, how does he do that? How does Christ make a deposit in us? Well, first off, I would like you to know that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and everything that was made, right? We do this from John 1. I'm going to just read this whole thing so I don't do it from memory and mess it up, because I'm prone to gloss things. And he existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created through him except through him. The Word gave life to everything and that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. That in the beginning, God entered the world, and there's no way to enter creation unless you speak or walk into it. Now, I know this is sort of a fine point, but in the beginning was God speaking into the world, and it created the world, but he entered the world by speaking. He's not giving us the silent treatment. He spoke into our world, and then later, as Jesus, he stepped in and lived in our world. And that's a deposit, right? Do you understand? I'm making this case that God speaks into our world, and then he walked into our world, and then he paid a price for us. And then when we accept him, he not just enters creation, he puts his Spirit into you as a deposit or a guarantee on what the final result will be. Now, you aren't all that you will be. But the Spirit inside you that God put as a deposit as he entered your world, but not just your world, your very life, keeps you on that path. And literally, he who began a good work in you, by putting his Spirit in you, will be faithful to bring it to completion, because the deposit comes to results. And his word, as he speaks into your life and lives in your life and nudges you in areas and says things when you're listening, oh, that is so cool, I have to learn more about that. And he nudges you to go learn more about him. Or when you're in a spot where it's maybe not so good, he goes, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Hey, let's move away from this. As he does that, he shapes your life and makes a deposit in you. I'm telling you this so that when you can recognize that shape, you will not be arguable out of the shape that God has made you in. Well, I don't know if Jesus did that for you. I disagree with all that. No, I know Jesus did stuff for me. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I experienced him, and so I trust him. That's what that means. And I've had a couple of experiences where God did things in my life where I didn't even know they had happened until later, and I was going through them and aware that things were happening. I just didn't know what it was. But you can tell me it's one thing, and I can tell you God worked. And I trust him because he made this deposit. There's more. For though I am far away from you, my heart is with you. By the way, you may feel God is far away, but he's with you. Just like this, just like Paul. All Paul is doing is explaining theology about how God works. He might feel far away, but he's right inside you. And if you don't know him and his Spirit isn't deposited in you, and you go, hey, where's God? And you turn around, he's right there. No matter how far away you travel from him, he's right with you because he's seeking after those who will become his. And he's hoping that all will do it. He's not willing that any should perish, but he has to allow freedom to choose. So this is more. For though I am far away from you, my heart is with you, and I rejoice that you are living as you should in your faith in Christ. And now I'm just going to add the next sentence. And now, just as you accepted Christ as your Lord, you must continue to follow him. Now, next next time I'm in front of you, I'm going to talk more about that. But you see how that follows? If you're going to make a deposit with your money as a tithe, or God's going to make a deposit in your life with His Spirit, or you're going to make a deposit in living this life by your actions, you have to continue to do it. It's not like you can buy a term life insurance policy and make the first payment and just ignore it for the rest of the time. What happens with your car insurance if you make one payment on your car insurance? They drop you, right? Yeah, they drop you. But you made a deposit. Well, if you don't continue to live in it and live into it and grow in maturity. So why is it a big deal? Why am I talking about all this stuff? Because the first thing we need to do is that your heart can be encouraged. You can sit in church all your life and not know Jesus. But once you know Jesus, your heart is strangely warmed, if I'm to quote John Wesley, or the way that I was changed when I came to him. Raised in a Christian family, but when I came to him, I was different. Can I explain to you how it happened? No. Could I tell you who did it? Yeah. Because it wasn't me. I was struggling personally with the 18 inches between my knower and my thinker, or my feeler. Right? Do you know that 18 inches between your head and your heart is the hardest part for faith to cross? Because our faith is here, and then it works the other way. You have to start here. You have to start here. The world starts with knowing. And then, but when you come and you meet God, you start to yearn to want to know more. That's how that works, okay? The second, knit together in love. True love. Right? We can do that from 1 Corinthians, right? Can I tell you what 1 Corinthians, true love, what does it do? That's here. This is 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable. Oh, that's talking to me. No, it's not irritable. It keeps no record of being wronged. How many of you are keeping records of being wronged? Love doesn't do that. Love doesn't say, well, I forgave him 7 times. Is that enough, Jesus? And he says, no, 70 times 7 times. Because he's made that kind of deposit in our lives. Did you know that? He's forgiven us 70 times 7 times, plus 70 times, plus 70 times. And that deposit has been made in us. Okay, there's more. Love never gives up and never loses faith. It is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. Does that mean it's super happy about every circumstance?
No.
No. It means it hangs on. Right? It hangs on. But in Proverbs 17:9, there's this other twist on this that I want to throw in here. Okay, wrong page. Love prospers. Are you ready for this? Love prospers when a fault is forgiven. You ever think about it that way? Love wins. It gets bigger when you forgive somebody. Actually forgive, forgive and restore that person. But dwelling on it separates close friends. Knit together in love. But they did this to me. Yeah.
Forgive him anyways.
Yeah, forgive them anyways. But if you continue to dwell on it, even Proverbs says this. If I live in it, if I camp here, I'm going to make this a big deal. And when it becomes a big deal, it's going to be the part where we disagree. Okay, so here's the third thing. Because you're encouraged and bound together in love, and you start to live together, then you start to be strengthened together. But it's really hard to live together without forgiveness. Nobody is meant to be a Lone Ranger Christian. And there's multiple reasons for that. One of the reasons we're not supposed to be Lone Ranger Christians, it's that God wants us to be as forgiving as we've been forgiven. Okay? As forgiving as you've been forgiven. As forgiving as you've been forgiven. What he wants you to do is start to act, whether you forgive or not, whether you play the football game or not, whether you watch this halftime show or that halftime show. Right? Because there's two today.
Yeah, there is.
There's two.
There's pickleball and soup.
Linda told us how to find the other one. Do it to the honor of Christ. But match his character, whatever you do. Right? That's whether I'm going to play golf today, I need to match his character. Whether I'm going to watch a football game, I'm not going to yell at the Patriots if they win. Much. No, I might. I might call Danny and harass him. But if they win, he might call me and harass me. But however we do it and however we live, we're going to do it to the honor of Christ. And we're going to submit and match his character when we do it. That's the goal of the deposit made in our lives. That we would begin to live into the character of the very God who saves us. And if we do that, we fall in love with his body because we're part of it. Will you pray with me? Lord Jesus, this morning, as we come into your presence, as we leave your presence, as we leave this building, as we do whatever we do, help us do it for your honor. Help us be who you ask us to be. Help us be encouraged by being together. Help us learn more about you and help us love like you do. In your precious name, amen.